to all. On behalf of High Commissioner of India, Dhaka, and Honorable High Commissioner Srimati Riva Ganguly Das, I would like to welcome all of our esteemed speakers for today on this digital platform book reading event of the very precious book, The Unfinished Memoirs, an autobiography of Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Some extracts from the book will be read by our speakers, and then there will be a discussion on those extracts. This event is being held to mark the birth centenary year of Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, father of the nation of Bangladesh. In the panel, we have chairing the panel will be our Honorable High Commissioner, Srimati Riva Ganguly Das, and the esteemed panelists are Professor Dr. Fakrul from Bangladesh. He's UGC Professor, Department of English, University of Dhaka, and the English language translator of the book, The Unfinished Memoirs. We have with us Dr. Rajagopal Chakraborty from India. He's head and professor, Department of South and Southeast Asian Studies, Calcutta University. We have with us Mr. Syed Badrul Ahsan from Bangladesh. He's right now in London. He's distinguished editor of the Asian Age and author of the book Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We have with us Dr. Subhayu Chattopadyay from India, faculty member of Vishwa Bharati Department of History. And then we have with us Ms. Sadaf. He's a poet, entrepreneur, and one of the co-founders of the globally famous Dhaka Literature Festival. I'll definitely brief you more about our esteemed speakers later on. Before that, I would like to request our Honorable High Commissioner, Ms. Srimati Riva Ganguly Das, to give her opening remarks. Ma'am, thank you.
Good evening and warm welcome to everyone. I hope I'm audible. This is something we have to ask.
Yes, you are.
You are.
A very warm welcome to our very distinguished panel who will be taking part in the book reading and discussion on the Unfinished Memoirs, which is the autobiography of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. As Dr. Nipa Chakraborty just mentioned, we are doing this book reading on the occasion of Mujib Borsho, the 100th birth anniversary of Bangabandhu. Many plans were made for celebrating Mujib Borsho. However, due to COVID pandemic, we have had to reorganize. The government of Bangladesh has reorganized many of the programs. I'm absolutely delighted that Professor Fakrul, the man who has been behind the translation of Unfinished Memoirs, is with us today to take this book reading and discussion forward. Friends, when Bangladesh celebrates Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's life, India also takes pride in staking a claim on Bongobondhu. He belongs to us too, and we are privileged to be a close neighbor of Bangladesh. You all know that Bongobondhu is revered as much by people of India as he is by people of Bangladesh. My own earliest memories of Bongobondhu is listening to his amazing speeches on All India Radio when I was a little girl, and I did this with my grandfather. I remember the electrifying effect his speeches had at home, and especially on my grandfather. Though I was too young to really understand the importance of what was going on in our neighborhood, I did understand the impact it was happening. It is therefore a very humbling experience on my part to be participating in this event to celebrate Bongobondhu's life as the High Commissioner of India. Friends, Bongobondhu is the architect of modern Bangladesh. He is one of the most influential and courageous leaders of the 20th century. He championed the cause of democracy, secularism, social justice throughout his life. His sacrifice for Bangladesh continues to be a source of inspiration for millions of people all over the world. He fought to bring smiles on the faces of Bangladeshi people and to build a Shonar Bangla, a golden Bangla. Today, under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, his daughter, Bangladesh is marching ahead to realize Bongobondhu's dream of Shonar Bangla. As a close neighbor and friend, we feel extremely proud of Bangladesh's many achievements, particularly in the economic and social sector. The history of our two countries is intertwined, As we reflect back on Bangabandhu's legacy, we can say that he was the architect of India-Bangladesh relations. We are privileged to be a partner as Bangladesh marches ahead to realize Bangabandhu's dream. When the people of Bangladesh were suffering immense hardship and sacrifice and fought for the freedom of this country, it was Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman whose powerful message kept the hope amongst his people alive and proved to be the inspiration throughout the liberation war. India has stood firmly by Bangladesh since 71 and will remain so in future. When we recall those days, we also remember that thousands of people escaped unimaginable horror and misery and poured into India during the period of the Liberation War. The people of India opened their homes and hearts to them. Today, India stands firmly by Bangladesh as a committed partner and friend. It is our privilege to host this book reading with such a distinguished panel. The Unfinished Memoirs is, in a sense, a tribute by a daughter to her father, which is so evident from the touching preface of the book, which has been written by the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. I end my remarks with a quote from the speech which was given by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on 17 March at the Mujib Borsho celebrations, which was done through a video link. He said, Bangabandhu means a leader of courage, a man of conviction, a sage of peace, a champion of justice, equality, and dignity, a hand of defiance against brutality, and a shield against coercion. Thank you very much for participating in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to request Professor Dr. Fakrul Alam. Before that, I would like to give a very few details about him. Professor Dr. Fakrul Alam is an UGC professor in the Department of English, University of Dhaka. He received the Bangla Academy Puroskar for translation in the year 2013. His publication include Essential Tagore, Imperial Entanglements, and Illustrator in English, and a lot of others. Interestingly, he is the English language translator of the book which will be read today. A lot of other books which are mentionable and has to be credited. I have to mention them, but due to time constraint, I will now request Dr. Alam to read his preferred extract from the book, and I would like to request all others to please, after he reads the extract, you all may discuss about that also. Thank you so much, Dr. Alam.
Thank you very much, Nipa, and good evening, Shubh Sandhya, Shabaike, Shubhecha. I'll begin this reading. I think I'm delighted that I'm to be part of this reading. I'll begin by reading the first three paragraphs, the opening section of Unfinished Memoirs. My friends keep telling me, why don't you write your memoirs? My colleagues keep saying, write down your experience of politics. It will prove your opinions one day. Since you're idle, so my wife told me one day while sitting with me in a room within the jail gate, since you're idle, write about your life now. I told her, I can't write. And in any case, what have I done that is worth writing about? Will the public benefit from the stories of my life? I haven't been able to achieve anything. I guess all I can say is that I have tried to sacrifice a bit of me for my principles and ideals. One evening, my jail warden locked my door from outside and left. From inside the small room of Dhaka jail, I looked at the sky and thought I think Mr. Sarwardi then, of how I came to be acquainted with him, how I had become intimate with him, how he taught me the essentials of political life, and how I came to earn his love. Suddenly it occurred to me, what if I wasn't able to narrate even skillfully? Would it really be awful if I wrote down whatever I could remember? At least I would be able to while away time that way. Often in period, my eyes would tire from reading books and newspapers all the time. And so I took a new notebook and started to write. I found that I could still recollect many things. My memory was serving me well. Perhaps I would get a few dates wrong by a day or two, but I was hopeful of getting the events down more or less accurately. Renu, my wife, had brought me some notebooks and left them for me with my jailers. They had vetted them and allowed me to keep them. Renu too reminded me once more what I should do with them. And so this day, I've started to write my memoir. That's as much of the extract want to read, but I like to say that when I started translating the book, I was given 30 pages. So I never read the complete manuscript. I read the first 30 pages and then the 30 pages. I read this and I was immediately attracted. As an English person, it made me thought of John Bunyan and Bunyan's famous autobiography. It also reminded me of Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, which was written in Hindi but translated my experiments with truth, and also Nelson Mandela's conversation with myself. And I think this book is in the tradition of those great biographies. It also reminded me of how much Bangabandhu sacrificed for Bangladesh. He spent almost 5,000 days in jail. 13 years of his 55 years were spent in jail. It reminded me of one of my heroes, Henry David Thoreau, whom actually Bongobondhu quotes in his second book, Prison Diaries, that for a just man, sometimes a prison is a just place, something like that. And it makes me think of how he captivated me through his writing as he did through his speeches. Riva was talking about his speeches. Her Excellency Riva was talking about the speeches and hearing them. I was captivated too, but I was captivated with Bengali. And I think it's a great privilege for me to have been chosen to translate the Unfinished Memoirs and Prison Diaries. And then the book, which is now going to be translated, again, because of COVID, it was delayed. A new title. With that, I'll finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request the other speakers to please comment or give their views on whatever Dr. Fakrul Alam has read. I would like to request first Dr.
I just like to say that I have read Oshamapko Atmajibani, written in Bengali by Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And I could read only excerpts of few pages which Nipa sent it to me, wonderfully translated by Professor Fakrul Alam. But I must say that when I was reading the excerpts in English, I often forgot that I was reading his autobiography translated by another person, as if it occurred to me as if I am reading the same book again. It was a wonderful translation, and I must say that since I read the original autobiography, to me it was not only the autobiography of Bangabandhu, but it was the autobiography of Bangladesh nation. It was such a fantastic presentation, wonderful language. He has a wonderful, that as High Commissioner Riva Ganguly says that I was also very a child. I was a child when that I listened to the lectures of Bongobondhu Mujibur Rahman. That he has a wonderful skill about the mother tongue. And today, that when my time comes, I will read not only the translation by Professor Fakrul Alam, but a few lines written by him, same lines written by him in his Oshamapko Jibani. But here, Dr. Fakrul Alam, I have a question. He says his wife is Renu. And as I remember his Oshamapko Jibani, he says Renu is the pet name, family name of his wife. I don't know that I have not seen anywhere in the book the formal name of Renu. You have said his wife Renu, but not it was the pet name. What was the formal name? If you could tell that, it could be knowledge for all of us. Yes.
I forgot, but Badrul probably will be able to.
Okay, no problem.
Right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Doc.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Our co-panelist was talking about Begum Mujib's proper name. He referred to the name Renu, which he says, and we all agree with him, is her pet name. And her real name, official name is Fazil. Can you hear, sir? Begum Fazilatun Nisa. Begum
Okay.
Fazilatul Nisa
Oh,
Mujib.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you very
right.
much. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So, shall I carry on?
Please.
Okay. No. In fact, I read the book when the book first came out, and strangely enough, well, happily enough, it was the Prime Minister herself, Sheikh Hasina, who informed me. She called me over one day to her Gana Bhavan official residence. She said the book had been translated by Professor Fakrul Alam. And by the way, I might add here, see, if you look at me, you won't believe it. If you look at Professor Fakrul Alam, you won't believe it. But he's my teacher. He taught me at Dhaka University in the English department. So when the Prime Minister told me that Professor Fakrul Alam has translated the book, and she asked me, "Do you know him?" I said, "Don't I know him? See, he's my teacher." And then I contacted UPL, and UPL was good enough to send me the copies of the two books, both in Bangla and in English. And I would like to say that I think in the country, in Bangladesh itself, but especially outside Bangladesh, there's a dearth of books by or on our political leaders in the English language. And this was one book that really opened up our history to a whole lot of people in the outside world, particularly in London, where I happen to be for much of the time. So I've gone through the translation. I've read the entire book in English as also in Bangla, and I think it's a very good job that Professor Fakrul Alam has done. And at the same time, I would like to say that I would like to add here that most of us didn't have any idea that Bongobondhu left any manuscript behind, because he spent nearly 13 years in jail, and where did he have the time? But then, when you reflect back on his years in jail, he spent a whole lot of years in jail, and that gave an ample opportunity. It's very fortunate that the Prime Minister was able to retrieve these manuscripts, these handwritten manuscripts, 21 years after Bangabandhu's assassination. And I would say that it is a fantastic, fantastic book and a very good translation, which we have already let the world in. And the book has been distributed through our various embassies abroad to places around the world. And here in London too, I've come across people who have discussed the book with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Dr. Subhayu if he wants to say something on whatever Dr. Fakrul read out.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Uh, Thank you all. What I'm trying to say is that I have gone through some pages which were sent to me. I'm very unfortunate that I haven't got the copy of the full book yet. But from the translation, what I found is that it gives a flavor of a familiarity. You can very well understand the growth of the nation through the portrayal of Sheikh Mujib. So in that way, the language is so lucid, and it's a reader's delight to have the book with him or her. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Saaz, if you have something to say, you may kindly.
Oops. Thank you very much for having me on this August panel. It's a great honor for me to be here. I think having this very important document in English is a great contribution to letting the world know about Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's place in history. You know, the war itself was fairly short, but the fact that there were decades of work behind our eventual independence. I think this is an important document contributing to knowledge about all the events that took place leading up to it. So I think that it's really good that, you know, this is being celebrated today here, and hopefully people all over the world will be able to read it and get much more clarification.
Thank you, Ms. Saaz. I would like to ask our Honorable High Commissioner if she wants to say something on this. Or should I continue with Dr. Rajagopal Chakraborty now?
Yeah, I think I will reserve my comments till the end, so
Right,
maybe the readings can continue.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. So now I'd like to request Professor Dr. Rajagopal Chakraborty, a few details about him, because I know it's not possible for me to read out all the details about all our esteemed guests today, because it will take them 2-3 days for me. So very few details. Professor Dr. Rajagopal Chakraborty is the senior most professor of Calcutta University. Till recently, he was the director of the Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management, the first business school set up in India. He had been registrar and professor of economics and demography in University of Calcutta. He has taught in various universities of India and abroad. He was visiting professor of London School of Economics and Political Science. He's recipient of the prestigious Ford Foundation Asia Fellowship. He has several publications in his credit. I would like to now request Dr. Rajagopal Chakraborty to read out his preferred extract. Thank you.
Thank you, Nipa. I would like to read last paragraph of page 51, and then I will go back to his original Ashamapto Attojibani and read a small paragraph. We Bengali Muslims have two sides. One is our belief that we are Muslims, and the other that we are Bengalis. Instances of envy and treachery can be often found in our history. Surely no other language in the world has the equivalent of the Bengali word for envy. Translated literally, the word would mean mortified at another's good fortune. You will find words such as envy and malice in all languages, and these are qualities people all over the world have. But only Bengalis are stricken by grief at another's prosperity. They are never happy to see their brothers do well. That is why Bengalis have been oppressed by other races throughout the ages, despite being blessed with so many other good qualities. The country is fertile and endowed with plenty. Few countries in the world have the kind of fertile land that we have. And yet we are so poor. The reason is that for ages, others have dominated us because of our own fault. We don't know ourselves. Until we do and learn to understand our mindset, we'll not be free. Often it has been seen that an illiterate man who is fair, who wears flowing clothes, and has a well-groomed beard, and can speak a few words of Arabic or Persian, is hailed as a saint soon after coming to Bangladesh. Bengalis spend thousands and thousands of takas to get his blessings. But if you care to get to the truth of the matter, you would find out that the man is really an employee of some fruit shop in Calcutta, or perhaps an accused in some other case. Blind faith and belief in the supernatural are the other fault of our people. I'll now go to the original book, only a small paragraph to make our audience understand that how wonderful Sheikh Bongobondhu Mujibur in his writing skills. I mean that আমাদের বাঙালিদের মধ্যে দুইটা দিক আছে। একটা হলো আমরা মুসলমান, আর আরেকটা হলো আমরা বাঙালি। পরশ্রী কাতরতা এবং বিশ্বাসঘাতকতা আমাদের রক্তের মধ্যে রয়েছে। বোধহয় দুনিয়ার কোনো ভাষায় এই কথাটা পাওয়া যাবে না, পরশ্রী কাতরতা। পরশ্রী দেখে যে কাতর হয় তাকে পরশ্রী কাতর বলে। ঈর্ষা, দেশ সকল ভাষাই পাবেন, সকল জাতির মধ্যেই কিছু কিছু আছে, কিন্তু বাঙালিদের মধ্যে আছে পরশ্রী কাতরতা। ভাই ভাইয়ের উন্নতি দেখলে খুশি হয় না। এই জন্যই বাঙালি জাতির সকল রকম গুণ থাকা সত্ত্বেও জীবন ভোর অন্যের অত্যাচার সহ্য করতে হয়েছে। সুজলা সুফলা বাংলাদেশ সম্পদে ভর্তি, এমন উর্বর জমি দুনিয়ায় খুব কম দেশেই আছে। তবুও এরা গরিব, কারণ যুগ যুগ ধরে এরা শোষিত হয়েছে নিজের দোষে। নিজেকে এরা চেনে না, আর যতদিন চিনবে না এবং বুঝবে না ততদিন এদের মুক্তি আসবে না। অনেক সময় দেখা গেছে একজন অশিক্ষিত লোক, লম্বা কাপড়, সুন্দর চেহারা, ভালো দাড়ি, সামান্য আরবি ফার্সি বলতে পারে, বাংলাদেশে এসে পীর হয়ে গেছে। বাঙালি হাজার হাজার টাকা তাকে দিয়েছে একটু দোয়া পাওয়ার লোভে। ভালো করে খবর নিয়ে দেখলে দেখা যাবে ওই লোকটা কলকাতার কোন ফলের দোকানের কর্মচারী অথবা ডাকাতি বা খুনের মামলার আসামি। অন্ধ কুসংস্কার, অলৌকিক বিশ্বাস বাঙালির দুঃখের আর একটা কারণ। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now I would like to request our other panelists to please give their comments on this. Dr. Fakrul, you may first speak.
Well, all I want to say is that it just makes me love Bongobondhu again. He's so, again and again, every time I read this passage, it's such a marvelous passage. And Dr. Rajagopal read it very well in Bengali and in English. I really like the way he put it. There's so much life in the man. There's so much humor. There's such a lively intelligence. The intelligence flickers in every line. And so, he's also always a man talking to men. And so I think all of that came out in the reading, as I think in the original, and of course I've tried to capture some of it in the translation.
Now I would like to request Syed Badrul, if you may comment on this, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, the passages that were just read in English and Bengali, they reflect Bangabandhu as a keen observer of Bengali society. And you see, at that very early stage in his political career, he was aware of the weaknesses of the Bengali nation, and that was very, very important. That was rather telling in the sense that from there on, he set out to mold Bengali society, and at the same time make sure that this society gained a political voice in the years ahead. So his idea or his impression about Bengalis of the society of which he was a part was that it needed to be molded according to certain specifications, and among the basis of those specifications was the growing secularism in Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and from then on he would.
I think there is a technical glitch here. He may be joining again. So I would like to request in between Dr. Subhayu. Yeah, I think again he has joined.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This it has been happening quite frequently in the last few seconds. Yes, those are my comments, right? So
thank you.
So do bear with me. Sometimes I go because this system is giving me a bit of trouble. I will come back.
Yeah. Not an issue, sir. Thank you so much. And I would like to request Dr. Subhayu to give his comments on this.
It was a fantastic reading by Professor Rajagopal Chakraborty. I'm sorry. I have actually nothing much to say, but only think that these habits of belief in supernatural and becoming envious are still going on after so many years also. So it's a part of our life. This has become an integral part of our life. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to request Ms. Saaz to say something on this.
I just want to say it's a great reading and really rings true for us Bengalis. It's great that even though he fought tooth and nail for the rights of Bengalis, he could still see us for who we are, but full of passion and a lot of feeling in that reading. And I think it conveyed probably a fraction of the original.
Thank you, Ms. Saaz. Now I would like to go to the next extract, and that will be, I'll request Syed Badrul Hisanji. Before I request him, I would like to brief a bit. Syed Badrul Hisanji is distinguished editor of the Asian Age and the author of the book Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He went into teaching while he was a student at Dhaka University. He actually worked as associate editor at the Daily Observer also. and which has long since instructing pupils in English language, literature, and history at schools such as Green Herald and Scholastica. He served as a lecturer in English at Notre Dame College between 1982 and 1985. He has also been involved in the part-time teaching at Dhaka University, University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh, and independent universities. Lots to say about him. Again, I will not take so much of time. A bit more that he is a regular contributor to the Indian Express and has reviewed books for Asian Affairs, the quarterly journal of the Royal Society for Asian Affairs in London. So now I would like to request him to read his preface extract from the book. So,
yeah.
Are you here, sir? I think again there is a technical glitch. Yeah, he has again joined with us.
I'm so sorry. The system is really irritating me. Anyway, I'll be reading a couple of brief paragraphs from page 104. So here it goes. Bengali was the mother tongue of 56% of the people of Pakistan. Thus, it should have been the only state language of the country. Nevertheless, we wanted both Bengali and Urdu to be state languages. Urdu was not spoken in any of the provinces of Pakistan. But if this was the language that our brothers in West Pakistan wanted as a state language, why should we oppose their wishes? But those who wanted Urdu as the only state language had just one argument to back them. It was, they said, an Islamic language. But we could not figure out how Urdu ended up becoming an Islamic language. A couple of paras down, Bongobondhu talks about seeing Muhammad Ali Jinnah in Dhaka. On 19th March, when Jinnah landed in Dhaka's Tejgaon airport, thousands of people went there to greet him. I remember that it was raining heavily that day. We had all got drenched in the rain, and yet we wanted to greet him in our wet clothes. Jinnah went to the racecourse ground and declared at a huge meeting, Urdu will be the only state language of Pakistan. Some 400 or 500 of us students were sitting in one corner of the field. Many of us raised our hands in protest and shouted, no, no. Later, when he went to Dhaka University's Convocation Center and again announced Urdu will be the only state language of Pakistan, the students sitting in front of him shouted, no, no, no. Jinnah paused for about 5 minutes and then resumed his speech. I believe this was the first time that Bengali students had dared to oppose him. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to request Dr. Alam to comment on this.
Well, it's amazing when you read Bangabandhu's books. From the beginning, he wouldn't say is Pakistan. He was really opposed to that. He would say is Bengal, but he also wrote Bangladesh way back when. And when he went out, what he would miss was Bengali food more than anything else. And when he went to China, the first trip that he took overseas, he and Manoj Boshu, the great Bengali novelist, both of them spoke in Bangla in this international conference. So this is a wonderful passage, which Badrul read out so well, which brings out this part of Bangabandhu and of course our country, Bangladesh, where which originated with Jinnah's declaration, but also 21 February. So the passage is such an apt one, and Bangabandhu's emotions, his feelings for the language come out so well.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And now I'd like to request Dr. Chakraborty to comment on this.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you, Dr. Badrul Alam, for the wonderful reading. I just like to say that, I have two comments to make, in fact. One is that we have more Urdu speakers in India than in Pakistan. Today, around 54 million Urdu speakers in India, while 16 million in Pakistan. So Urdu was never a language of Pakistan. Urdu, in fact, was a language of India. That is one point I would like to share. Another is that the Bangabandhu's love for Bengali. Then he has the guts to protest in front of Jinnah and no Urdu. The students, he could raise a protest in front of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the powerful man at that point of time, to say that no Urdu. So you know that Bangladesh is boastful of its language, and we are boastful. You know, all of us who were panelists here, Bengali is our mother tongue, and I am boastful and thankful to Bongobondhu. No, no, I remember that BBC made a survey sometime back. I don't know when, probably 2004, and Bongobondhu was placed above Rabindranath Tagore. I mean, that probably those who voted, that probably they have not read much of Rabindranath Tagore, but you know that Bongobandhu's contribution in holding, that Bengal's importance in the world languages is really unique. I must say that. Thank you, Bongobandhu, for protecting my language. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Now, I would like to request Dr. Subhayu Chattopadyay to give his comments on this.
It was again very, very uh, mm, interesting reading session from Syed Badrul Alamji. Uh, I was when it was reading, I was thinking that after 1947, in India also we have seen the linguistic reorientation of states based on language, demands of language. So language is such an emotional thing, such an emotional thing attached to every self, that it manifests when the demand is suppressed. And Bangabandhu is one such icon um, uh, who fought for his love for the language. So that was very much there in this passage, chosen by Syed Badrul Alamji. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, I would like to request Ms. Saaz to speak something on this. She wants to.
It's so interesting to hear, the origins of the freedom, the movement for the language movement, and the fight for the right to be able to, speak, live, and do anything we want in our own language. So even though the independence of Bangladesh did speak to getting our economic and political emancipation, this very kind of strong connection to who we are, culture, who we are as a people, is kind of beautifully, I think, conveyed in this passage, where Bangla was really such a connecting force that enabled, I think, those young people then to stand up and feel that it was their right to demand to be able to speak in their own language.
Thank you, Ms. Saaz, for your valuable comments. Now, I'd like to go to our next speaker, Dr. Subhayu Chattopadyay, to read his preface extract. But before that, a very small briefing about him. Dr. Chattopadyay is a faculty in the Department of History, Vishwa Bharati. His area of research interest is history of science and technology of colonial Bengal. He also worked in history of society and culture of colonial Bengal with special reference to performing arts. Dr. Chattopadyay has many articles in different journals and edited volumes. In his credit, his edited volume with Vipasha Raha, Mapping the Path to Maturity, Manohar 2019, has earned a name in the academic field. Dr. Chattopadyay has another book, From Science to Society, Journey of an Indian Geologist, is on press and should be released shortly. So again, it is a very short brief, so I'd like to request him to now read his favorite extract from the book.
Thank you all. I'm really honored to be part of this program. I have chosen a very small paragraph from page 119, and I think that will be in continuation of Syed Badrul Alamji's reading session. Mr. Abbasuddin sing Bhattiari songs as we crossed the river. When he was singing those songs as we crossed the river that day, it seemed to me that the gently lapping waves were entranced by his singing. His disciples, Shorab Hussain and Bedaruddin, had managed to keep this style of singing alive to an extent. I had become Mr. Abbasuddin's devotee by this time. He told me at one point, Mujib, there is a conspiracy afoot against the Bengali language. If Bengali isn't made a state language, Bengal's culture and civilization will be under threat. The songs that we have appreciated so much today will lose all their charm and melody. Whatever happens, Bengali must be made the state language. I pledged to him that I would try to make it our state language and have done my best to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I'd like to request Professor Fakrul to say something on this.
First of all, Dr. Chattopadyay read it so well, and with such, I think, seriousness to what was being said, and also was able to evoke the lyrical qualities of what was being said. What really appeals to me in passages like this, and there are other passages in the Unfinished Memoirs and the other books, is not only this as a continuation of the Bengali that we, he's Bangabandhu's championing of Bengali that we talked about, our sensitivity about the language, love of the language, and so on, but also his love of all things beautiful. We can see this again and again in other books also. When he goes to Ajmer, for example, when he goes to Taj Mahal, for example, when he sees in the second book, when he sees birds, the yellow birds coming to the prison there. So here's this man, and we can see through the autobiography these other dimensions to this character. Not only the politician, not only the champion of Bengali, the human being, the lover of music, and no wonder he chose Shona Bangla to be our national anthem. Here was this man who also quoted from Rabindranath liberally on many occasions, as well as Nuzrul. So this is such a wonderful passage that way.
Thank you, Dr. Alam. Now I'd like to request Dr. Rajagopal to please speak on this.
I don't have much thing to say, but I must say that Abbasuddin is very, very popular even today in India, in Bengal. I must say that. And I don't know which song Abbasuddin was singing. He had a song, "Oh Dheu Khalere." I mean, don't probably that was the song which Abbasuddin was singing on Madhumati River. Is extremely popular even today. I must say that. And you see that Bongobondhu was not only a lover of the language, but he was a lover of the music. I mean that that he could remember that how the river was flowing to the tune of the song by Abbasuddin. So, and I must say whatever I said before, that I'm thankful to Bongobondhu, that for protecting Bangla, for making Bengali. We Bengalis today probably the third or fourth in the world. I don't know. Somebody might confirm. We are fourth, fifth, not beyond that. We together, the Bengalis of India and Bengalis of Bangladesh, that. Have we lost to Urdu, probably our importance would have gone. So we are all thankful to Bangabandhu because he has such a love for his own mother tongue, and he has created Bengalis in the world, which constitute fourth or fifth language sect in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for your precious comments. Now, I would like to request Ms. Saaz to give her comments on this, please.
I just think it was beautifully read out, and I think it kind of encapsulates what so many of in Bangladesh. I guess so much of what is part of us is this rich and wonderful cultural and literary history that we have, and it's part of us.
Thank you, Ms. Saaz. I would again like to request you only to read your favorite extract, but before that, I would like to give very few details about you. Sadaf Saaz is a poet, writer, women's rights activist, director, and producer of the very famous Dhaka Literature Festival. She also developed a serious interest in poetry and published the very first collection of poems, Sari Reams, in the year 2013. Her work is inspired by a deep commitment to political issues and consistently thematizes the injustices suffered by women in her country. There are a lot of other things, but I would like to just say a few other things. She continues to act as the director and producer of the festival that is known as Dhaka Literature Festival, which focuses on English-speaking literature being generated by a younger generation of writers. as well as creating a platform for the rich, diverse written and oral literature of Bangladesh. In 2014, her Je Kotha Jaina Bola monologues were produced for the theatre and premiered under the direction of Naila Azad. In these monologues, which were shown nationwide in Bangladesh, Saaz portrays 50 case studies of women from different Bangladeshi regions and explored the problematic position of women in society. So it's to you now, Sadafji, to read out your press with extract. Thank you.
I've chosen a couple of extracts that I want to read from. One is, I think, demonstrates Bongobondhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's anti-communal stance, and actually gives us also an insight into the formative events which contributed to Bongobondhu's championing of secularism as one of the cornerstones of independent Bangladesh. During Khwaja Nazimuddin's administration, violent communal riots broke out in the Punjab too. Thousands of people died in them. Martial law had to be enforced in Lahore. The riots erupted from movements launched against the Ahmadiyyas and the Qadiani sects. Some famous Muslim scholars had instigated them. These spiritual leaders seemed bent on proving only one thing: Qadianis were not Muslims. I myself didn't know much about this issue, but I know at least this much. No one should be murdered because he holds views different from mine. That certainly was not what Islam taught, and such an action was tantamount to a crime in the religion. Qadianis believed in God and the Prophet, let alone the Qadianis. Islam forbids punishing even non-believers. In Lahore and other places, husbands, wives, and even children had been thrown into flames and roasted alive by these bigots. The people behind these gruesome deeds are even now very much part of Pakistani politics. Pakistan was supposed to be a democracy. Here, people of all faiths, irrespective of race and religion, were supposed to have equal rights. It is unfortunate that the people who had played a contrary role in the movement to create Pakistan were now trying to present Pakistan as an Islamic state and poisoning the nation's politics to achieve their own ends by using religion. Instead of adopting programs of economic and social reform, the Muslim League leaders chanted one slogan in unison: Islam. They seemed to feel that they had no reason to be concerned about the economic well-being of the people, which, after all, was the goal for which the working class, the peasants, and the laborers had made sacrifices during the movement for independence. The Muslim League and its cohorts appeared more interested in helping the oppressors and the feudal caste, since these people had taken over the reins of government. And I'd actually like to read another paragraph, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
So I love this next bit because it's basically, here is this young man who had the vision, conviction, and you know, I would say gumption to basically take on the political elite, you know, the establishment, and stand up for justice and democracy and against nepotism, corruption, and cronyism. And so I just like to read this bit out. Maulana Bhashani and I and our colleagues decided there was no time to waste. We concentrated our energies on building up the Awami League. We toured the districts, subdivisions, police stations, thanas, and villages, and managed to raise an army of devoted and selfless workers. Under the leadership of the Students' League, the students managed to stand up against the mighty Muslim League. The country was reeling under corruption and nepotism in the administration, which had taken an extreme form. The constitution had been watered down. Government officials were bent on doing whatever they fancied. The food situation had assumed critical proportions. Unemployment was a huge problem. The people in power seemed to be operating without any plans or programs to address the situation. It was as if they were happy as long as they managed to hold on to power. Whatever the ministers of the East Pakistan government went to speak, people stayed away. No one in the province had forgotten the events of 21st February 1952. We tried to build public opinion in favor of drafting a new constitution. We were bent on making Bengali a state language and getting autonomy for East Bengal, and would not compromise on these issues. Around the same time, Mr. Fazlur Rahman tried to introduce a way of writing Bengali using the Arabic script. we were able to create public opinion against this move. Some Muslim League leaders were attempting to impose a centrally based government on the entire country through covert propaganda. The Awami League, on the other hand, was working to implement a government based on confederation and regional autonomy and was trying to convince the people of its advantages. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Saaz. I would like to request Dr. Alam to give his comments on this.
Well, again, Sadaf read so eloquently. As the translator, I was enjoying reading and listening to Sadaf, especially the first passage, which she was more relaxed when she read it. But I think that both the passages are key passages because, among the things Bangabandhu gave us, he said our nation was, he gave us our constitution, and in the constitution, the 4 pillars are socialism, democracy, nationalism, and secularism. And you can see all of that actually in those 2 passages. Put them together and you can see them. The other thing I'd like to say is also that we have to remember that this is the Bangabandhu who was, you could say, so to speak, a foot soldier for the Muslim League. He began working for the Muslim League, and before that, the Muslim Student League. And here's this man who only in a few years' time realizes that these Muslim League people don't speak for Bengalis of Bangladesh. And the passage is key in that way.
Thank you, Doctor. And I would like to request Dr. Chakraborty.
Yes, I will again make 2 comments. You see that as Sadaf mentioned, that Bangabandhu was against communalism. And yes, it is true. And he was not only against communalism, but he also believed that the Bengalis are against communalism. As I have read from up to Atmajibani, I have seen that there he says that Bengalis are knowledgeable about politics and they're very much concerned about their political situation. And they love their religion, but would never allow themselves to be made fools by the people who are interested in using Islam for political gain. That was, he mentioned somewhere in Ashram of Jibani. Another thing, that although we could not discuss about it as yet, Bangabandhu, I must say, he was a socialist. He was a socialist, that if you read his book, Atujibani, carefully, and he know that his love for socialism was emphatic in various places. And in one paragraph, probably he mentioned that I'm not a communist, but I'm a socialist. And capital is the operation, and we have to oppose capitalism. That is what he mentioned. So, yes, this is what I thought I should tell you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I would like to request Syed to please speak on this or give his comment.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Because,
yes.
Well, very briefly, the first passage refers to Bangabandhu's, or at that point, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's gradual evolution to secular politics. So here is a young man who was a very good activist of the All India Muslim League in the 1940s. But soon after the creation of Pakistan, he began to realize the need for a return to secularism. So as I keep telling people when I talk to them about Bangabandhu, there's a difference between Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Bangabandhu. Muhammad Ali Jinnah started off as a secular political being, but then he went down to being the founder of a communal state. Bangabandhu started off as an activist of a communal political party, but then he rose to the heights and turned secular. So that's the difference. And the second passage that Sadaf read so well, that testifies to the fact that Bangabandhu was beginning to realize that Pakistan might not be the land that Bengalis would be happy in. So from then on started his movement first for regional autonomy, democratic rights, and eventually independence. As he kept saying, after his 6 points were formulated and presented to the public in February 1966, he said that this was a charter for Bengali freedom. First, the 6 points, but the 6 points were actually a pointer to just one point, that would be independence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request the High Commissioner to give her concluding remarks on the whole reading session by our very esteemed readers. Ma'am, request you, please.
Thank you, Nipa. And Thanks to all the very distinguished panelists. I think you all have selected the paragraphs very well. It's like a representative, it represents the book very well. And, everyone's read with a lot of emotion and passion. I think feelings which Bongobondhu's name naturally evokes in people. And I must also say that, an English translation always helps. And Professor Fakrul, you've done an amazing translation. And I've read, fictionalized versions of this book also in Bangla. I can see that, where the inspiration comes from. So it's been a absolutely, very good dedicated session in dedication to Bangabandhu in this month of August. And in the year when, Bangladesh is celebrating Mujib Borsho. We all know our leaders from textbooks, media coverage, and very formal sort of write-ups on our leaders. It's very rarely that a leader leaves a rich text like this, which allows us to have insights into many personal aspects of our leader's life. What we one of you read about his love for music. We know that Bangabandhu used to love Rabindrasangit. His description of architecture in Taj Mahal when he is awestruck by the beauty. His amazing observation power, which was also read out today, and especially the envy paragraph. Fakrul, Professor Fakrul, you must have really struggled with that translation. It is difficult. That must have been really tough. Also, there is a bit of self-introspection in these manuscripts. I was just wondering when, listening to all of you, whether anyone knows if he got a chance to edit what he write. I would suspect he wouldn't have. He was such a busy person. I'm amazed that he actually wrote all this. And it is also amazing that, the manuscripts has been found after so many years in this pretty much preserved form with a continuous flow of, in a chronological order, in a sense, of his life. This really brings a leader very close to the people, because the formality of the leader and the people goes away when you get to know the leader's thought process and the everyday concerns of his life. What I also see from the Unfinished Memoirs and the paragraphs that you read, especially the para that you read, Professor Alam, right in the beginning, that, leaders also have normal lives. They have normal feelings. They have normal concerns. But the amount of sacrifice that they make and their families make. In this book, you see repeatedly how he's torn, when he has to leave the children behind and, he spends so much time away from his family. So, these aspects you get to know about a leader only when you get your hands on a rich text like this and written by the man himself. I think the book allows us to understand this great leader of the 20th century. We understand his thought process. We understand his dedication to his ideals, his conviction, and how he's so convinced about his ideals. And finally, I think we understand from this book what makes Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Bongobondhu. Thank you all so much for participating in this panel.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you
for your valuable comments, and it was an indeed exceptional discussion session. And I feel a very good tribute to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his autobiography. High Commission of India, Dhaka is really honored to have all our esteemed speakers today. And I would like to definitely thank our High Commissioner also to always encourage and support all of us to organize such useful educative events or sessions, which is very important for the society. So again, thanks to all of you. Thank you, and stay blessed, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.